Ladies and gentlemen, while epic battles are fought in dungeons and legends are born in the shadows, I want to tell you a different kind of story. This is not a tale of the world's strongest hunter, but of the world's strongest sister. This is the complete life story of Sung Jin-ah. In every great shonen anime, behind the Goku, there is a Chi-Chi. Behind the Naruto, there is an Iruka. And behind the mighty Sung Jin-woo, there was his little sister, Jin-ah. Her story begins not with a system, but with struggle. She was a bright, energetic young woman living a life that was far from easy. With a mother in a mysterious, magical coma and a brother who was scorned as the world's weakest, Jin-ah carried a heavy burden. Yet, she never broke. She was the light in their small, cramped apartment, the one who kept the hope alive, embodying the classic, Genki, spirit even when times were dark. To understand the epic tale of a hero who battles monarchs and commands shadows, we must first appreciate the ground upon which he stands. And that foundation, that unshakable bedrock, is his sister, Sung Jin-ah. Her story is the quintessential narrative of the anchor in the storm, a role so vital in anime, where the fate of the world often rests on the stability of a single, loving heart. Imagine the classic anime setup. Our hero is off in a hyperbolic time chamber or on a spirit journey to another realm, pushing his limits beyond human comprehension. But what keeps him grounded? What is the mental image that flashes before his eyes in his moment of greatest despair? It is not a technique or a power-up, it is a person. It is a memory of home. For Sung Jin-woo, that person is Jin-ah. While he traversed deadly dungeons that defied reality, her world was a different kind of battlefield, a small apartment, a hospital room with their comatose mother, and the quiet, persistent dread of waiting for her only brother to come home. She was the keeper of their normalcy, the guardian of the humble, fragile life they were desperately trying to protect. Her strength was not measured in mana cores or combat levels, but in resilience. Think of the most heartfelt slice of life anime, where the drama isn't about saving the world, but about saving a family. Jin-ah was the protagonist of that parallel story running alongside her brother's epic. She managed the household, she shouldered the anxiety, and she presented a brave face, all while being a regular student trying to navigate her own life. She was the imouto, little sister archetype, but not as a passive accessory, she was an active, emotional pillar. When Jin-woo was at his lowest, mocked by the entire hunter community, it was Jin-ah's belief in him that was his first and most crucial source of power. Her unwavering faith was a buff that no system could ever quantify. This role is the emotional core of so many of our beloved stories. She is the equivalent of Son Gohan and Goten waiting for Goku to return from other world, or the entire Hidden Leaf village believing in Naruto during his absence. She is the place to return to, a concept deeply ingrained in Japanese storytelling. The hero's journey means nothing if there is no home to journey back to. Jin-ah was that home. Her text messages checking on him, the meals she prepared, the simple, everyday conversations she insisted on having, these were the lifelines that tethered the rapidly evolving Shadow Monarch to his humanity. In a world where he was constantly surrounded by death, loyalty from shadows, and the cold logic of a system, Jin-ah was his connection to life, to family, and to warmth. When Jin-woo began to change, becoming stronger, more secretive, and more burdened, Jin-ah's battle intensified. She became the audience's surrogate, the one who looked into her brother's increasingly weary eyes and saw the accumulating cost of his power. Her struggle was one of perception and fear. She didn't see the majestic monarch, she saw her older brother, who was carrying a weight she couldn't comprehend. Her attempts to understand, her worried glances, and her fierce protective instinct were a constant, quiet narrative of love amidst the chaos. She held down the fort, protecting the very concept of family that Jin-woo was physically fighting for. In the grand, universe-spanning war between monarchs and rulers, the small, well-kept apartment where Jin-ah waited was, in its own way, the most important battlefield of all. For it represented the reason for the fight itself, the simple, profound dream of a peaceful future with the people you love. In the universe of hunters and dungeons, where power is quantified by ranks and destructive capability, it is easy to overlook the quieter, more profound forms of strength. Sung Jin-ah's character is a masterclass in this very principle. Her power resides not in a mana core, but in the depths of her human spirit, a strength that is often the most potent, yet most underestimated, force in any anime narrative. Imagine the classic shonen protagonist, training in isolation, pushing their body to the brink. Now, contrast that with the emotional fortitude required to hold a family together. This was Jin-ah's dojo. Her S-rank ability was resilience. With her mother confined to a hospital bed in a magically induced sleep and her brother risking his life daily in the most dangerous places on earth, Jin-ah's entire world was a monument to uncertainty. Every day she went to school, every night she spent alone in that apartment, was an act of immense courage. She couldn't fight the monsters in the dungeons, but she fought the monsters of fear, anxiety, and loneliness that threatened to besiege her home. This is the same inner strength we see in characters like Orihime Inoue from Bleach, initially seen as needing protection, but whose true power lies in her capacity to heal, to hope, and to endure, providing an emotional sanctuary for her far more powerful friends. Furthermore, her strength manifested as perceptive empathy. As Jin-woo began his metamorphosis from the weakest hunter into something entirely other, the entire world saw only the results: the impossible dungeons cleared, the rising rank, the awe-inspiring power. But Jin-ah saw him. She noticed the subtle shifts in his demeanor, the new shadows behind his eyes, the weight of secrets he couldn't share. She possessed the emotional intelligence to look past the incredible shadow monarch and see her older brother, who was shouldering a burden no one could comprehend. In anime terms, she had the unique skill to see her brother's true status screen, not the one filled with stats and skills, but the one that showed his fatigue, his stress, and his unwavering love for his family. She was the only one who could call out the mighty sovereign, not on his power, but on his well-being. "You look tired, Oppa," from her, was a more piercing critique than any monster's roar. This perceptiveness evolved into her third, and most formidable, power: unconditional love as an anchor. This is a trope we know well, the power that brings a hero back from the brink. When a character is lost in a darkness of their own making, be it a cursed seal or an inner demon, it is often the memory of a loved one, the sound of their voice, that provides the lifeline back to sanity. For Jin-woo, as he delved deeper into the cold, logical, and brutal world of the system and the war between monarchs and rulers, Jin-ah was his living, breathing tether to his own humanity. Her presence, her demands for normalcy, her simple request for him to just be her brother for a moment, acted as a constant, spell on his soul. She prevented him from becoming completely consumed by the shadows he commanded. Her love was the passive buff that constantly regenerated his humanity stat, ensuring that no matter how much power he accumulated, the core of Sung Jin-woo, the loving son and protective brother, remained intact and in charge. In a world of overwhelming power, her greatest strength was her ability to remind the most powerful being in it of what it truly meant to be human. In every grand anime saga, while the camera follows the hero on their world-saving quest, there is a parallel, more intimate story unfolding back home. This is the story of those who wait, who worry, and who love the hero. Sung Jin-ah is the beating heart of that story. Her perspective is not one of clashing blades and earth-shattering magic, but of the quiet, agonizing, and deeply human cost of heroism. She is our window into the reality that for every epic victory, there is a family member staring at a silent phone, their heart gripped by a cold, unrelenting fear. Think of the most iconic moments in anime. We see Goku teleporting a self-destructing cell away from Earth, a moment of ultimate sacrifice. But the camera, if only for a moment, always cuts back to Chi-Chi and Gohan, their faces a canvas of pure terror and devastation. That is Jin-ah's world. Her life is composed of those cutaway scenes. Her brother isn't just a hunter, he is her only remaining pillar in a world that has already taken so much. Every time he walks out the door, there is the unspoken, chilling possibility that he may not walk back in. This transforms the epic, faraway battles into something immediate and personal for us, the audience. We don't just see Jin-woo fighting a giant centipede monarch in a remote dungeon. Through Jin-ah's eyes, we feel the domestic terror of that event. The news reports blaring from the television, the frantic attempts to call his phone, the sheer, helpless waiting, this is the emotional toll of being the hero's family. She embodies the home front, a battlefield where the weapons are anxiety and the armor is fragile hope. Her narrative arc is one of profound internal conflict. She is bursting with pride for her brother. She sees the respect he now commands, the financial security he provides, the miracle of their mother's awakening. She wants to cheer for him, to celebrate his strength. But this pride is eternally at war with a sister's primal, protective fear. This is the classic dilemma of the hero's loved one. I am so proud of what you are, but I am terrified of what you must do. We see this in characters like Maka Albarn's father, Spirit, in Soul Eater. His immense pride in his daughter is constantly battling his fear for her safety in a world of Kishin and madness. Jin-ah lives this conflict every single day. Her joy is always tempered by dread, her relief at his return always shadowed by the knowledge that he will have to leave again. This role makes the stakes profoundly real. An S-rank hunter might see a dungeon break as a professional hazard, a government official might see it as a statistical problem. But Jin-ah sees it as a direct threat to her family. She is the embodiment of what is truly being protected. The abstract concept of saving the world is made concrete and urgent through her. She is the world that Jin-woo is fighting for, not the planet, but the people on it. Her laughter, her safety, her future, these are the tangible things that would be lost if he were to fail. When she hugs him, relieved that he's home safe, that single moment of human connection does more to justify the entire cosmic war than any explanation of the monarch's plans ever could. She transforms the narrative from a simple power fantasy into a poignant story about sacrifice, love, and the heavy, often invisible, price of being the one who is left behind to keep the lights on and the hope alive, waiting for the hero's return. The most powerful bonds in anime are never defined by power levels, they are the ones that transcend them. They are the connections that remain unbroken even when one friend gains a Sharingan, another becomes a Hollow, or a brother ascends to become a god of shadows. The story of Sung Jin-ah is the story of a sibling bond so fundamental, so pure, that it becomes a force of nature in its own right, a tether that not even a system designed by godlike beings can sever. This bond is the foundation of their entire dynamic. Before he was the Shadow Monarch, before he was an S-rank, before he was even the world's weakest, he was just Jin-woo, her oppa. And that is the identity she fiercely protects and clings to. In the face of his overwhelming, reality-bending power, Jin-ah possesses a different, more potent authority, the sacred right of a little sister to keep her big brother humble. She is the one person in all of existence who can look at the commander of a million-strong shadow army, a being who can teleport and shatter mountains, and scold him for not texting her back or for looking too tired. This is a classic and beloved anime dynamic, the incredibly powerful protagonist who is utterly helpless against the chastisement of a loved one. Think of Saitama from One Punch Man being lectured by Genos, or the mighty Yuji Itadori being scolded by his teacher. Jin-ah fulfills this role with a natural, familial authenticity. Her scoldings are not born of disrespect, but of a deep, abiding love. She is, in effect, performing a crucial function. She is constantly reforging the chain that connects the deity to the man. This bond is a two-way street, and its power is most evident in its ability to humanize the seemingly inhuman. The Shadow Monarch's power is cold, silent, and absolute. It is the power of the grave. But Jin-ah is his conduit back to the warmth and noise of life. A simple request from her, to help with groceries, to talk about her day, to just be present, acts as a powerful grounding technique. It pulls him out of the strategic, war-focused mind of a general and back into the simple, human role of a brother. These mundane interactions are like purification rituals, cleansing him of the accumulated darkness and pressure of his duties. When he sits at the dinner table with her and their mother, he isn't a monarch, he is a son and a brother. In these moments, Jin-ah isn't just his sister, she is his anchor to the very world he is fighting to save. Ultimately, their bond is the narrative's ultimate argument for what true strength is. The story presents us with a clear dichotomy. On one side, the monarchs, beings of immense, solitary power, driven by conquest and destruction, utterly alone in their might. On the other side is Jin-woo, whose strength, while immense, is amplified and given purpose by his connections. Jin-ah is the living, breathing embodiment of that connection. She represents the idea that the most powerful force in the universe is not the ability to command shadows, but the ability to love and be loved in return. Her existence in his life is the definitive proof that he is not like the monarchs. He is not alone. He fights not for domination, but for defense. The bond between Jin-ah and Jin-woo is the shield around his heart, protecting him from the corrupting isolation of absolute power and ensuring that no matter how deep he delves into the shadows, he always has a light to guide him back home.